Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Guidry, and I'd like to welcome you to the Dibble Institute's second Wednesday webinar called What Was I Thinkin? Using Counseling Theory to Facilitate Workshops Effectively While Setting Professional Boundaries. Eric Murphy of the Dibble Institute and West Virginia University is our presenter today. Hi, Eric.
Hello, Kathy.
Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping tips, and we usually do this at the beginning of the webinar. Everyone is muted right now, and if something happens that you're unable to access audio through your computer, you might want to write down that phone number and access code, because you can go on your phone and you can access the audio. We're also going to have a couple of ways that you're going to be able to participate today. One, if you look in your control panel, you'll see your question box. We're going to have questions at the end of the webinar. So if you will kind of write down your questions on a piece of paper, and then when it's time for us to answer questions, if you'll then put them in the answer box, that way I'll be able to manipulate the slides I need to do, and then also answer your questions or ask the questions at the end. The other way that you're going to be able to participate is by raising your hand. And if you look in your control panel, you'll see a little hand sign. If you click on that, that raises your hand. At one point, Eric is going to ask you to comment. And in order to comment, you're going to need to raise your hand. Eric will then unmute you, have you answer his question, and then mute you back. So we'll see how that works today. This webinar is being recorded, and we're going to archive it on our website at the link you see below. Also, we will have a PDF of the webinar on this particular site. And also at this link, you will find a resource guide of all the information that Eric is presenting today. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about the Dibble Institute for those of you who are not familiar with us. When I went over and looked at the registration list, I saw a lot of familiar faces. So good afternoon to all of you. And then to those of you who are new to our webinars and to the Dibble Institute, welcome. I look forward to being able to interact with you this hour as well as in the future. I am the customer service manager and the training manager. These are our founders, Charlie Dibble and his wife, Helen. Charlie was an aeronautical engineer by trade, and like most engineers, he liked solutions. Some 30 years ago, he saw how young people's relationships and those of their parents were affecting the outcomes of young people, and not all in a positive way. So he began by asking lead experts in the field of relationship education, what are you doing to convey to young people the need for creating steady and stable families? So it was with the lack of strong answers that Charlie decided that it was necessary to take research and supply materials to young people that would enhance their romantic relationships. So here the Dibble Institute is 30 years later, helping young people to have access to relationship education materials. Dibble Institute is a national independent nonprofit research-based organization. We are able to reach many young people thanks to your efforts in partnering with us. You are our feet on the ground. We could not have reached the more than 1.5 million people that we have in the last 10 years without you. Many thanks to you. I'd like to talk briefly about the core values of the Dibble Institute. First and foremost, and most importantly, we believe in research, and we go where the research leads. We base our materials on what the research tells us. It is important to Dibble that we keep our materials up to date with the most current research. Secondly, we believe in steady, stable, healthy families. Although we know there are trends, we follow the research. Research shows that children do best when raised by their own two parents. Research also shows that children do best when parents are together. We do understand that not all families have two parents. There are many single parents who do great jobs and have great outcomes with their children, but we do know how difficult single parenting can be. We also do believe that high conflict, abusive situations are not good for children, and those relationships are better being apart. Finally, the Dibble Institute believes that all people deserve to be treated with respect. All relationships get better, stronger, and healthier with relationship education. Our materials are suitable for all kinds of relationships. So Eric, I'm going to see if he's on here. Eric, are you with us?
I am.
Great. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about you, Eric.
All right.
He's an exciting guy to learn about and to be around. He makes training very interesting and exciting. He's very knowledgeable. Eric is a clinically trained health educator and a neuropsychologist. He attended West Virginia University and Fairmont State College. After receiving a bachelor's degree in liberal arts with an emphasis in special education, Eric just needed to go on and get more education. He went to earn 2 master's degrees from the West Virginia University. He has a Master's of Arts in Community Counseling and a Master's of Science in Community Health Promotion. Eric has used his expertise in the field by working in a variety of settings, in independent living centers, youth treatment facilities, and one of his passions is working with both disability and aging persons. Eric continues to facilitate community workshops and works directly with families. We are so proud and honored to have Eric as a master trainer for the Dibble Institute. I know that many of you have met Eric if you've been through any of our trainings, and he is on the faculty of West Virginia University as the Monongalia County Families and Health Extension Agent.
Yes.
Eric, welcome. I'm going to give you the floor now. I'm going to transfer the screen over to you.
All right. Let me get my.
It'll just take us a couple minutes to do that. You'll just accept that, Eric, and
Yes, I will.
we appreciate you being here and taking the time.
Not a problem. I think is this the screen? Okay, here we go. All right. Well, hello everyone. Again, my name is Eric Murphy, and today our webinar is going to be about what was I thinking and facilitation and use of theory as I facilitate. So one of the things I want to make sure that we talk about here is the use of theory-driven work and using some frameworks to help us to facilitate more effectively. So I think one of the first things we have to do is, if we're going to do this webinar, I think, and make it effective, we have to kind of have a contract with each other. And I think our contract today should be that we're going to keep it 100. And if you don't know what that means, it kind of just means we're going to be very honest about where we're at with this, about what's in the way of us of being more effective in our workshops and our facilitation skills. My job today, hopefully I'll be able to provide you with a new tool, something that you might be able to plausibly use. And if not, maybe we could develop a webinar for later on that may address some of the other issues. But first and foremost, we're going to make sure we keep it 100. So I want to ask the group here, when you see this picture, and there's a bunch of people, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor moving around here, but there's a bunch of people on this picture. You know, in regards to your ability to facilitate or to execute facilitation skills in a way that you really want it, which one of these guys represents you? Are you the guy over here haranguing people and you feel good about it? Are you hanging on by the edge? Have you fallen off? Do you feel trapped? Which one is you and why? And as Kathy said earlier, we're going to utilize the system here. Let's go to webinar. I'm going to open this up so I can see the attendees.
Yes. So if someone wants to raise their hand to answer Eric's question, you can do that. The question is, which one of those people are you as a facilitator, and why do you say that? Would someone like to share? Looks like Jack Sugars. I'm going to click on it for you, Eric, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let me see if I can do it. Okay. Jax? Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. It's good to have you on the webinar.
Yeah.
Would you like to share?
Yeah. Sure. I think I'm the person that's standing on the middle of the bridge, kind of looking at the people falling off with their hand over their mouth, kind of like, oh crap, what's happening? And it's kind of like, I'm kind of moving in the right direction, but I'm still kind of scared, and I'm seeing all these other people losing everything, and so I'm just kind of like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I think I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Hey,
We've all
thank
been
you
there.
very much. Yes, yes, we've all been there. And I think that we'll be able to utilize some frameworks to maybe help you just feel a little bit more stable in your skill set and the content and your ability to facilitate your curricula. Does anyone else have any person here that represents them, that looks like them? And Kathy, thank you very much
You're
for catching the
welcome.
hands. I
I'm
appreciate
gonna
it.
unmute, and I'm sorry I may not be able to pronounce your name. It's Saudali?
Sudali.
Sudali. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi. I am the one who's super excited, and I want everyone to be where I am on the other side.
Is that, can you see my cursor? Is that you right there with your hands
Yes.
up in the air? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for that. And hopefully we'll be able to share some things that even help you jump a little higher and enjoy this that much more.
Okay.
How about others of you?
Yeah, Victoria, would you like to share?
I probably have been all of them at different times doing facilitation work, depending on how much I feel invested in the work, the materials that I'm sending out, and how knowledgeable I am in the materials.
For sure.
Excellent.
Training means everything, I think. You know, when we're
Yes.
prepared and trained in the content of the material, that's definitely helps our confidence, for sure.
Yes.
Thank you for
Yes.
sharing.
All right. We're going to keep moving now. Thank you guys for sharing. And I will try to make sure that we address as many of the concerns that you've brought up for us, or even some of the things you're excited about within this webinar today. So first of all, I wanted to talk about who Albert Ellis is and where REBT came from. REBT stands for Rational Emotive Behavioral Theory. And a lot of people know it as cognitive behavioral theory. As you can see on the screen, he got his PhD from Columbia, and he broke away from psychoanalysis later in his life. He wanted to approach it from a different position. And the position he wanted to approach it from was talking about the client's self-defeating beliefs, how our cognitions or our self-talk directly affects our feelings and behaviors. And he thought that by teaching people about irrational beliefs comparatively to rational beliefs, they would be able to improve their life, to eliminate irrational beliefs such as I must be perfect or everyone must love me. Some of the basics of REBT theory, I want to give you a little backdrop of it. It's a humanistic approach, and what that means is that people have the ability to create their own feelings. And I guess if I'm trying to explain this so it makes sense, I can say it out loud, is our locus of control is internal, that I make myself feel the way I feel. That happiness is our goal, that your belief system, that our belief systems directly affect our happiness and ability to self-actualize. And when I say self-actualize, people wonder what that means. Self-actualizing, if I was going to give it kind of a layman's terms, it's talking the talk and walking the walk. How I see myself and how I see myself in my mind and what I do, they connect and they're congruent. That the source of unhappiness, that people create a personality or emotional disturbances through their irrational beliefs. So how I believe directly affects my emotions and the personality that develops out of it. And last but not least, I want to talk to you guys about this ABC model that we're going to be breaking down today when it comes to REBT. And I feel like I'm going a little fast, so I want to slow down a little bit. When we talk about this ABC model, utilizing rational emotive behavioral theory, I'll be referring back to the ABC often. So this is a concept that we really want to try to grasp. So the first piece of this is the A. The A is our activating event. the thought or image. And if you guys want to write this down, it might be good for you to see it and kind of have a multisensory approach to it by engaging in it and also seeing it on the screen. So the activating event is the thought or image that we hold. The next part is our beliefs about the event. What I tell myself about that event that I've experienced. The C is the consequence, that the belief that leads to an emotional or behavioral consequence. So a lot of times when we're talking about this, a lot of times people believe that the A, the activating event, it was makes me feel the C. When in reality, through the framing of REBT, it's actually the beliefs about the event that make me feel the way I feel. And by utilizing this framework while you're facilitating for your own self, you will be able to firmly grasp onto the content and fidelity of the curricula, because you will only have logic to work from. When you start to work from the shoulds and musts and the always, those irrational statements, that's when you start to remove that's where your value system starts to play into your facilitation, and it will interrupt your ability to be as effective as you would like to be. So I'm going to go right into the beliefs and how the beliefs lead to consequence. So, and this is where we're going to try to go interactive at all possible, but I want to be really respectful of people's time. So as we go interactive, I'm going to give you at the most 10 seconds to make your comment. I'll cut you off very nicely. I'll be real nice about it. So don't worry about that. So let's go into our first scenario. Someone questions your ability to deliver program content and asks, why are you presenting the material when you don't look like a member of his or her community? Now, I don't know if now I came up with these scenarios from some of the things that some of our participants have shared with us and some of the other trainers have shared with us also. So I wanted to make sure that we answer from some of the statements that I got from our attendees list and some of the concerns that you guys had. So let me say that one more time. Our activating event is someone questions your ability to deliver program content and asks, why are you presenting material when you don't look like a member of his or her community? What are some of the possible beliefs that this person could have? And I want to open this up to the audience. What are some possible beliefs? To the attendees, excuse me. What are some of the possible beliefs that you think that this person could have? And I'll start this off. Maybe I should not be here. Maybe I should have researched more. Maybe I'm the wrong person to deliver this. What are some other things? Yes, ma'am.
We've got, I'm going to unmute Clarissa Spears. Clarissa, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I think that a person might feel that you can't relate to them because you're maybe a different ethnicity from them, and they may make a lot of assumptions that are just not true.
Thank you, Clarissa.
And so that may be why they feel that way.
There you go. There you go. Does anyone else have any other beliefs that might be provoked from this experience, from the A?
Yes, we've got, I'm sorry, it just takes me a little bit to get people's names.
No problem. Thank you very much.
We have Michael. Yeah. Michael, do you hear me? Hello? Michael?
You know what, Kathy, we'll just
we're going to keep going. I'm sorry.
Yes, we'll keep going. So those are some of the beliefs, and as I think Clarissa may have said, maybe a belief is maybe I can't relate, or maybe because I don't look different, maybe because I look different, there might be a challenge because of my ethnicity or race. There's a variety of different beliefs that could come to this. Now, if I believe that, then what would be the consequences of those beliefs? If you think about this, and I'll say this, some of the consequences may be that I feel insecure, that I start to feel isolated or alienated, that I start to stumble and stumble over my words, that maybe I even procrastinate in cutting off a participant and I allow that participant to talk about something they're very passionate about, but I allow that person to take over the workshop that I'm supposed to be facilitating. So the belief is what's promoting that consequence. Let's look at another scenario. You've had 2 workshops that didn't go very well, and the evaluation reflected it. The belief you tell yourself is, you think, I never do anything right. How would you feel if you told yourself that? And I think that that's a rhetorical question, but I think that you would know that you would probably feel maybe powerless, maybe insecure, maybe feel as though you're not properly prepared. And maybe some of the things that you do along with that is, like I said, the earlier one was you procrastinate. Maybe you allow your audience to take over the workshop, and you lose fidelity because now you're starting to qualify who you are and why people should listen to you instead of staying to the content and goals and objectives of the lesson. So it's because of the B. The belief is what's affecting my consequence. Here's another example. The activating event. A participant at a workshop questions your understanding of the content that you're presenting and the relationship to God and religion. And they do this in front of your audience. You think, what do you think? I want to open this up to the audience again, Kathy, if you don't mind helping me do this. What do you think what that person might believe? Now, I'm going to say this again. The activating event is a participant in the workshop stands up. I'm going to add, I didn't mean to embellish that. Questions your understanding of content and that you're presenting and your relationship to God and religion. And they do this in front of the audience. What do you think a belief might be that facilitator may have?
And Eric, would you be looking for a negative belief?
It would probably be a negative belief.
Would anyone like to answer?
Or it could be a positive. It could be something that's different. It doesn't matter. The question is the content that you're presenting and the relationship to God and religion. Nobody?
Nobody.
All right. Let's keep going. I would say that you may think I need to explain myself. I need to let them understand that I'm a Christian. I need to let them understand that my values are genuine, that I'm a good person, that I need to qualify why you should listen to me. So what will be the consequence of that belief, of me feeling that I need to do these things? I might get into a conversation about someone's value system. I may get into a conversation about someone's dogma or how they grew up or how religion affected them. I may allow the workshop to go completely over to about religion when the goals and objectives of the lesson that I'm supposed to be teaching have nothing to do with it. Here's another alternative belief. The activating event. A participant in a workshop questions your understanding of the content that you're presenting and the relationship to God and religion. And they do this in front of your audience. So let me give you an alternative belief this time. You think the participant is talking about his or her own personal opinion. How would you feel then? If I told myself this truth, that this person is questioning about God or religion, and now what would I feel if I told myself, this participant, I might even add one more to this. You might think the participant is talking about his or her own personal opinion. This person is questioning, wanting to have a confirmation about their belief system. This person is in a workshop talking about relationships, and now they are talking about their relationship with God. So maybe the content is directly affecting this person at a very deep level. I am presenting this material in a way that's making this person question things about themselves and the relationships that they have with people in their life and God. And they're doing this in a vulnerable way, doing this in front of others. How would I feel? I might feel empowered. I might feel like I have a lot of responsibility in this moment. I might feel that I am doing my job appropriately. I might feel that I'm fully prepared to redirect that question to the content and goals and objectives of the lesson that I'm teaching in the curriculum, because that is where this was promoted from, and I will stay to the fidelity of the curriculum because the content is going to answer the question for this particular participant. Let's go for another alternative belief. And then I want to make sure that I stop here soon. Well, I'll ask you this after I do this one, Kathy. Okay. Another alternative belief. You had 2 workshops that didn't go well, and the evaluations reflected. So I want to give you that alternative belief. This is the example that we used earlier. This one, you tell, instead of saying what you said before, this one time you tell yourself, I have a documented history of demonstrating the skill that execute an effective workshop. How would you feel then? What if I even added that this is a different demographic that I've ever been before? I have an opportunity to acquire a new skill. This is something that now I get to enhance my skill set. Now I get to meet all the needs of my community and the diversity within my community, because now I am in an audience that I have never reached before, and I have an evaluation to show me what I can do to improve. What if I told myself that I have an opportunity to fully serve my community? Because now I know what I need to work on. What if I told myself that? The ABC model at work. Oh, Kathy, I want to stop for a second. Okay. Kathy, I want to ask, do you think it would be a good opportunity for me to stop for a moment and just to do a round and ask people what are they taking out of this real quick, for if I give people 10 seconds each?
10 seconds.
Okay. Well, Kathy has given me permission to open this up. So I want to ask you, what are you taking out of this so far? And what is this making you think about your experience facilitating? You have 10 seconds if you don't mind. Please raise your hand so Kathy can acknowledge
you. Okay. Karen Johnson, would you like to share? Karen?
Hello?
Hi, how are you,
Hi,
Karen?
yes, I'd like to share.
You are live.
Good, yourself? What I'm taking out of this is just definitely another way to process if trainings aren't necessarily going the way I'd want them to, and just different self-reflection on the services I'm providing.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
And honestly, I'm not trying to, and this is not a rose-colored glasses kind of a thing. This is honestly just telling yourself the truth, something that's logical, and not catastrophizing what you're telling yourself. Does anyone else have anything to be able to add? What are they taking out of this for themselves?
Yes. Looks like Erica Burrows Gerard.
Girardi. Hi.
Girardi, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No, it sounds like what I'm taking from it, this is very good, by the way, but what I'm taking from it is that we need to reframe with our potential challenges to look for these opportunities within these challenges.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah, and if you think about it as an opportunity instead of like a catastrophe or woe is me, and I believe that within each of us, as we try to facilitate, we will fail as we try to be successful, and that's only because we're evolving in our skill set. And this is just about framing it in your mind so that you're more effective. Does anyone else have anything else they wanted to add before we move forward?
Yeah, I don't see anyone right now. If we can move on, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the ABC model at work. The ABC model helps us understand the connection between our beliefs and our consequences. Again, a lot of times people believe that the experience that we have is what makes us feel a certain way, and the reality of it is what we tell ourselves about that experience. So if I tell myself this is a terrible experience facilitating, then my feelings about that facilitation will also be negative. You have to tell yourself the truth. And as I said about keeping it 100 in the beginning, you have to know if I did not prepare myself to know the content and goals and objectives of that lesson, and when that person asked me about God and I did not realize that I had just talked about family patterns and how dogma affects us in the curriculum that I was teaching, then it's on me. So the ABC model also allows you to really really process my ability to be better. That the ABC model at work also, we are influenced by what we tell ourselves, about what we tell ourselves that's true or not true. And we could corrupt our logic. Most of us begin only seeing the consequences that stem from the activating event instead of seeing it from the beliefs that we tell ourselves about the event. And the ABC models help us to stop and consider and challenge our own beliefs. It's to hit the pause button, in other words. Rationality is the key. So we all have the potential to think rationally. And one of the things that I found is we like to tell ourselves, well, I'm an old dog and I can't learn any new tricks, or I'm a facilitator and I've facilitated for so long I can't learn anything differently. No, that's what you're telling yourself. You're telling yourself something irrational and something that's limiting your ability to acquire. Because you're thinking to acquire is not to say that a worthy person wants to get better, and a worthy person knows that they will only get better. Emotional disturbances come from irrational thinking. That when I tell myself something that is irrational, my feelings become disturbed because it does not make sense. REBT, the theory holds that if you think more rationally in the face of a negative event, you will have less emotional distress. So as I am teaching my class and I have people challenging me as a facilitator, and I can take it back to the content and understand the theories behind the content I'm presenting and the goals and lessons of that, the goals and objectives of that particular lesson, then I can truly confront the heckler in my audience by talking about the goals and content and how that content may be affecting their view and belief about relationships or parenting or fatherhood or whatever it is that I'm teaching at that moment. Rationality and awareness of content is the key to achieving effective facilitation. And I want to say that understanding your content and the goals and objectives of the curriculum that you're teaching help you stick to fidelity. And as one of my mentors, Jane Rife, used to say, it allows you to be also mindful of the moment. Mindfulness is a part of rationality and logic. So there's some ways of thinking. You have your rational, logical side, and here's some things that go wrong with rationality and logic. It's empirically consistent with reality. It's testable. And what that means is that there's no changing. Like, it's always going to be the same. 2 + 2 = 4. There's flexibility. And what I'm saying is with flexibility in beliefs. So the flexibility in beliefs is understanding there is no right or wrong in a belief. There is a gray area within that right or wrong. And as a facilitator, we have to understand that we are giving people the optimal level of success. And we have to understand that their journey to get there is that gray area of flexibility that we have to execute and acknowledge and affirm. Because when we start getting caught up in the fact that we see this person in a pre-contemplative state and we want them to get to an action state and understand it, then we're missing the fact that they go from pre-contemplation to contemplation to preparation. The stages of change that I'm explaining to you right now is a part of the flexibility of understanding our audience and how our participants will move forward as we grasp the content. And that there's a preferential, and that's a desire. That's what I would like to have happen, not a demand. It's got to be this way. I will hope that my workshops that I facilitate are awesome, but they ain't got to be perfect. I would like them to be kind of perfect, but yeah, that doesn't happen. So to understand that and to understand there's no perfection, there is perfectly imperfect, that is how you stay rational. Here's irrational. Inconsistent with reality and lacks empirical validity. And what that means is it is conditional to how I feel about it. It's the logic is based in my value system. It's how I think it should be, and that y'all should do how I think. And I think that when you start to do that, it becomes inconsistent with reality. It becomes irrational. And that's where your audience and the facilitator start to blur the line, and you no longer stay to the fidelity. That inconsistency with reality also connects with the illogicalness of that. And I think what happens is that as you start to talk about or engage in things that are inconsistent, your logic becomes corrupted by that inconsistency, because everything has to stay hand in hand with the lie that you're telling yourself to stay in that position. Irrationality also has to do with being dogmatic and inflexible, and dogmatic connecting with theology, and having that demanding, where we have preferential on the rational. On the irrational, we have demanding, states of demand rather than a desire. And as Ellis says, he calls that masturbation, and nobody likes a masturbator. Nobody? Okay.
No way. We do not like that.
All right. Okay, sorry about that. Handling negative emotions in the workshop. Now, again, this is about, and Kathy and I had a discussion about this piece right here. This is about you handling your negative emotions in the workshop, and maybe handling those negative emotions of the participants as this addressed their belief system that may have been something that was generational, that's become a generational theme, that's become something that has become habitual, and you are addressing in a habitual belief that now they are seeing that may be connected with why things are not going as effective as they would like it. So of course they're going to challenge that. So here's appropriate emotions that are appropriate. Some of these adverse emotions are appropriate to negative situations. Sadness. If I lost something I care about, that produces sadness or grief, and that loss can be of an expectation. So in your audience, you may have people who exhibit grief because you are sharing a belief system with them that kills the belief system that they've been holding on to their whole life. So they might exhibit grief in your workshop, especially if you're doing it, if you're really, really working the skill set. Remorse. A person may feel remorse, and that is an appropriate feeling to have when you know that you're sorry about something. Concern. I need to take care of this. That immediacy that you may experience in yourself or in your participants is an appropriate feeling when you are teaching a curriculum that addresses a change, a shift in thinking, a change or a shift in family dynamics. And here's inappropriate, and I hope you guys like my Smurfs I put in here. Here's inappropriate. Depression. I'm no good, I'm worthless. That is irrational. And that is not, it's testable to show how irrational it is. Saying that I'm no good or worthless, if that's the statement. Guilt, I've sinned. Anxiety, I'll never be able to handle this. All these statements go into they are not measurable. So as your participants in your audience may experience some of these things, you got to, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but here's a great example of what's appropriate or inappropriate in regards to handling those negative emotions. Here's some of the insights that we go along with the Rational Emotive Behavioral Theory. That beliefs, not events, cause disturbances. That we remain disturbed by adhering to those irrational beliefs. So in the workshop, if I experience a negative workshop, and I believe I'm always going to have this kind of experience when I deal with this type of audience, people who look like this. If I tell myself that, then I keep doing that, that's what my skill set would demonstrate. Because maybe it is about acquiring a new tool. Maybe it's about acquiring a new terminology. We perpetuate these beliefs by using them repeatedly. We make the same connections over and over again, therefore strengthen our irrational beliefs. So as we have a workshop and it doesn't go well, and I prepare the exact same way for this next workshop in an audience that's the same way, and it goes the exact same way again, and I tell myself, look how bad I'm doing. But I don't look at the fact that my behavior and what I'm telling myself don't go hand in hand. That's why it feels terrible. We will have to work hard to restructure those beliefs to create unhappiness. And so what I'm saying here in that statement, I'm sorry I kind of worded that a little wonky. You have to work really difficult. You have to work very hard and diligently to create unhappiness, to make that logic make sense, to make 2 plus 2 equal 9. That is a lot of work. And I will tell you that when you deal with relationships and relationship education, parenting, fatherhood, anything that deals with nurturing and intimacy, those belief systems and attachment that goes along with that, those are very difficult things to help people to move through and acquire those new tools. But this utilizing REBT will help you stay grounded and help you to possibly share that tool with your audience. So here's the next step. I want to give this scenario here. A participant in the workshop questions your understanding of the content you're presenting in relationship to God and religion. And they do this in front of your audience. That's the activating event. The B is, you tell yourself this: I should defend myself because he or she knows I love God, and he or she is being disrespectful and distracting. So what if I told myself that? Then I'd probably maybe verbally attack him or her. Let him know I love Jesus. Don't talk crazy to me about, I'm going to let you know. And as I'm doing this, feel justified in this because of what I told myself. But that's where you have to have the A, B, C to the D model. That's where we have to use our D, where you distract and we have a disputation. So what we're doing here, as we stop, we're thinking, we're observing, and then we proceed. Most of the time, I mean, and some of you may have heard of the 4 R's: the react, rethink, the react, remove, rethink, and think and feel remorse. And we're just talking about responding, regrouping, and doing it a little differently. So here's a facilitator using the D. Distraction. Think of something else. Think of a stop sign or a wrist snap to get you to stop from going to those habitual behaviors that you typically would do, those habitual beliefs that you typically would do that prevent you from being as effective as you would like to be. The disputation is actually an argument with yourself. So what you want to tell yourself when you're doing this, say that you're the facilitator. Now, I'm talking to facilitators. So you're the facilitators. You have to tell yourself, you have to ask yourself these questions to keep yourself from going down the pathway of destructive behavior or ineffective facilitating. What are the negative consequences of me interacting in this way? What is the good evidence? The good evidence is in the content of the curriculum that you're teaching, and more than likely it's within a lesson that particular audience member is questioning you about, and it's probably within the goals and objectives of the lesson. And if they're wondering how you got to that place, that's probably built off of the lessons before that, because most lessons build on top of themselves. You can come up with alternatives to that question, this person's to what's going on, and the alternative is typically from the content. So if someone asks me about, and I'll go to this on the next slide. You have to consider the implications. What are the implications? Sometimes when we dispute and we utilize those disputes within our facilitation, sometimes the implications are the fact that we decatastrophize their situation when they wanted to stay catastrophized. You're presenting something to them that it goes so against the grain but makes so much sense that they want to hold on to the belief so that they can continue to live the theme within probably the curriculum you're teaching. And if you teach love notes or relationship smarts, we talk about family patterns and ways that love has been demonstrated, family patterns that you want to let go of, the ones you want to hold on to. And sometimes when you start to talk about those things you want to let go of, the person in that moment starts to experience grief. It's up to you to stay to the content and goals and objectives to remain to the fidelity and integrity of the curriculum that you're teaching. Active disputation. Using the example of religion. Here we go. The facilitator, you engage by asking these questions. Here we go. Yeah. Why is this question so terrible for them asking? You got to ask yourself, well, before I get caught up in this emotional thing because of what I'm telling myself about them asking about religion, I have to ask myself, why is it so terrible? Because maybe what they're asking about, they're talking about God and religion, then they're probably talking about it from a position of relationships and about the relationship with God and good and all these different things. But if it goes along with the curriculum, and most of our curriculums are about relationships, then it makes sense that they would possibly ask about that. The key is to go right back to the content. Is there another way I could think about this? I think the way to think about this, in most situations when we're trying to do an active disputation, some of the best ways to do this is by taking it right back to the goals and objectives of the lesson that you're teaching. Most of the questions that we end up having are those things that come off disruptive is because of what's being triggered in the content. How does this content affect their belief? So you got to ask yourself, as you're having you're disputing this, if they're talking about, and I've had this in workshops where we had someone talk about the fact that we're going to be teaching about healthy fatherhood, but I'm still going to parent in the way that my parents taught me. That person in that moment was having a conflict with what they knew the research said was better for their child and how they were going to facilitate this curriculum and walk the walk that they were talking. What is preventing from them doing this? Typically, what is going on is the unknown. And I think that, one of the things that we told some of the participants, and I think I'll share this with you guys too, I think that one of the things that you have to recognize is to be a courageous facilitator is to walk with fear. And as you walk with fear to the unknown, you find courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's walking with it, understanding the content, goals, and objectives of the curriculum that you're teaching. Why must you have it this way? You have to ask yourself, why do I need to be right in this situation? What's in the way of me recognizing this person is acquiring some new information and they're challenging me because this feels like because of their own power issue. And if I engage in this power struggle, then what is that saying about me? Why do I need to have a power struggle with content of research information that I'm sharing? I don't really need to. What is the worst that can happen if I give up this belief? What is the worst that will happen? If I stick to the fidelity and curriculum and direct that participant right back to that in regards to religion. If I say, well, that sounds like you're talking about I think one time in a class I had, and I'll share this with this, I had a person ask me in regards to religion, about, well, I don't know if I need to do this because God will provide that for me. And the only thing I could say to them was, well, as you're saying this to me about relationships and providing and leaning on relationships and relationships that are interdependent, do you think that your God is a nurturing God? The person said, yes. I said, well, do you think that they will provide you with free will? They said, yes, I understand free will. I said, do you think that this nourishment is right there in front of you? Who has to take it? And the person said, I have to take it. I said, so if you're telling me that you have to execute this to do this, is that what we're talking about here? Acquiring a new tool to facilitate a healthier relationship. By sticking to the content, you will be able to negotiate these conversations to take it right back to the goals and objectives of the lesson that you're teaching. And what is the best that can happen? The best that can happen is this person acquires a tool. That is the best that can happen. So let's do into a parenting workshop that I'm wondering, Kathy, let me ask you, do you think that we need to stop and ask what they're taking out of this or no?
No, I think we need to do it at the end. We're kind of running tight.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Parenting workshop, I don't look the part. So here's a scenario. Parenting workshop, I don't look the part. The activating event is I'm teaching the lesson on parenting, but I look young, and I look like I have no kids. And the beliefs are all negative. And C, because I think they're all negative, and because I look this way, and because I keep experiencing this, I quit the job. Let's stop here. I don't think that's the way we want to do it. So let's suggest some possibilities to avoid a pessimistic consequence. And I think here's some of them. Let's go. I'll just do this because of time. I may look young, but I have acquired the tools and the skills to share with people to effectively parent more effectively. I am a trainer of the systematic training of effective parenting, and I understand the difference between praise and affirmation. I have learned all this stuff, and I can share this in a way. I have a degree in this area, and I have the skill set to share with people. What if I told these things? I look young, and I'm healthy, and I know that I can help you acquire new information to parent more effectively. What if I told myself that? And what do you think the outcome might be? I might just go hard. Oh, excuse me. Wait a minute. I got it loose. I might just really show how I can be helpful. And not by becoming gimmicky, by being tactical. Because I have the skill set. I am an expert in this area. So I will show you my expertise by helping you acquire information without you even realizing that I'm helping you acquire it. The last step that you have to do is help people energize. As you do this disputation, you got to help them. You got to act on the energy created by the resolution. As you help people to get it like, oh, there's a different way to think about this. That's when you got to energize that person. You got to provide hope for that person in your facilitation. I'm always talking to Kathy and my colleagues about ways my communication is through my intonation, eye contact, touch, body position, or body movement. By taking them on the ride through your intonation and show passion for the resolution. To help them to understand, like, oh, I get it, and I'm just as excited as you are because I am a facilitator and I am helping move the energy in the room. And you help them to release the burden of carrying around all those negative thoughts and feelings, because once they release the irrational and the illogical, they feel lighter. And that's when you go, doesn't it feel good to let go of that stuff that you know didn't make no sense? And as they start to laugh and you laugh with them, you check. If you had a microphone, you could just drop it, but okay. Nobody? I thought that was funny. All right. I'll keep it moving. All right. So when not to use optimism, when not to use an energizer, if their goal is to plan, it's for something risky or uncertain. If they're saying, well, if you're doing relationship education, they're saying, you know what, I'm moving out tomorrow. You've helped me. Wait a minute. You might want to help push the pause button, because that's about understanding. Do you have a plan? Do you have these things? The things as in the curriculums that Marlene has shared with Dibble. Do you have a success sequence that you're following? If the cost of failure is high, moving out and you got kids and you have no place to go, that's a high. The cost of failure in that one is high. Be careful using optimism in case of look. And here's the thing you have to know: we are facilitators of curricula, typically about relationships and about social issues. You are not a therapist. You are not there to counsel in that position. You are there to help them acquire information and develop tools to more effectively navigate relationships. You are a facilitator. Don't blur the line. Stay in your, I think, well, as the young people say, stay in your lane. You also have to understand the importance to focus on the changeable and specific. Hence why, and as we teach money habitudes, we talk about having SMART goals and developing those SMART goals, or just being able to help people have an understanding of the specifics of the game change as this developed in most of the curriculums that we teach. Falling back on the content and the goals and how to do simple goal setting and how to obtain those goals. So I put this on here because I just think this is one thing that goes hand in hand with using rational emotive behavioral theory. I don't know if you guys know the Big Lebowski, the dude. I like the dude. And one of the things that I can never, Reinhold says, not the dude, but the dude kind of reminds me of that, is give me the serenity to accept things that cannot be changed, and give me the courage to change things that must be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish one from the other. Utilizing rational motor behavioral theory, you will be able to hopefully acquire that separation and effectively negotiate workshops and either tighten up your tools or hopefully acquire a new one.
Great. Eric, thank you so much. And Michael has a question, and it's something that I was thinking about. Kind of goes hand in hand with something I was thinking about. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But if anyone else has questions for Eric, if you'll put them in the question box and we'll try to get to them. Do know that you all had a lot of questions about facilitation, and it really gave me a lot of ideas that I'm going to share with staff about other webinars that we can have on facilitation. But when I was watching the webinar, and I'm assuming, or I'm thinking that anyone, you don't have to have a clinical degree, as Michael was asking, to actually introduce and use a basic REBT model. Is that correct? That anybody can use it. And
yes.
Okay. And the great thing about what he's asking, what I could see, yes, we can use it as facilitators with our students and helping us to be better facilitators. But he had the question or the idea of, why couldn't we use this in our fatherhood classes or with our students and help them deal with each other in conflict? I mean, isn't this whole thing about relationships, that RBT model, that we can use it in every relationship that we have, really?
I think that you can utilize that in most of your relationships. The challenge you will have that this particular framework is for you to be able to frame and stay stable in your fidelity, or use of fidelity and the content of the curriculum. So when you start to branch into teaching this to your participants, then you're branching into doing psychotherapy. And once you start to go into psychotherapy, you're no longer being the facilitator, and you're putting yourself and that participant in a liable situation.
Got you. Thank you for clearing that up for me and for Michael as well.
That's
very good. How about some other questions some of you might have? I guess you did such a great job, and we're getting close to time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take I think we may have one more question here. Give me 1 second.
Oh, sweet. That makes me happy to answer questions.
Well, it looks like, no, her audio isn't working, so you just might want to, we're almost at the end. So let me go ahead. I'm going to take the screen back, Eric. And again, thank you so much for all your insight.
Not a problem.
And we're always here. I'm going to be showing you my email, that you can actually email me with any questions that you all might have. First of all, you will have a survey. We always do a survey at the end so we can find out more about what you're thinking and what we
please answer the survey. Please.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And also, there you go, where our webinars will be recorded and stored. And please contact me with any questions or comments you might have, and we will be looking also at your ideas on facilitation. I'm very excited also because I know a lot of you have asked and called in about regular Love Notes training. We actually are going to have a 2-day training associated with the Fathers and Families Coalition Conference in February in Los Angeles, and that's going to be February 27th and 28th, are the actual days of the workshop. So give me a call so I can give you more information about that, because it's a great opportunity, especially for those on the West Coast. Our next webinar, I'm excited to say, is going to be presented by Selma Call. She's a research scientist with Child Trends, and I'm really excited to say that she is going to be working with us on how to reach and engage Latino participants and also immigrant participants. So I think that's really an arena where we all need to have a little bit, stretch our our learning there. So I'm really excited for that. So again, thank you. Keep in touch with us. You'll see this on our website as well as our email. And of course, we have Facebook, and there's our 800 number where you can reach me for any ordering questions or training questions. All righty. Thank you so much.
Sweet.